Hawa Bibi Mahomed. And we welcome you to the Oasis. And forgive me what I'm about to say. How are you?
Hi, Shy Guy. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday morning. That joke is quite a familiar joke for me, so
Oh,
it's welcome.
I thought it was.
I'm good.
I thought it was because I'm very cheesy. I thought I couldn't help myself. So you get that a lot. Like, how are you? How are you
Yes,
doing? I love
yes, I
every
do
every
all the
moment of it.
time. I'm very used to it.
So, starting audiology, where did that interest come from? And what is that for someone who's hearing an audiologist for the very first time?
So for me, it was really my focus was on trying to help people as much as possible. And when I came across audiology, I thought it was such a unique way to actually help people because hearing is such an integral and important part of living in society, in the community, in order to build relationships, work, just live in general, you need to be able to hear. And I think, we don't really take it that seriously as South Africans. And I think it's really important that we do. And that's why I decided to do audiology. And it really has changed my perspective on hearing and how important that is for us.
You know, there are certain professions that I think life really humbles us, the likes of me. Imagine if I were an audiologist, everyone would know. I would brag because I know people are going to ask, what is that? So let me just be a humble broadcaster and remain here. Now, looking at hearing plays a central role in speech, learning, and connection. Why is early hearing care an act of love for children?
So, when it comes to hearing loss, Shy Guy, if children aren't able to hear, it means that there is going to be a restriction on their speech understanding, on their learning, their communicating, their cognitive abilities. Now, as children, we learn through listening to others, right? To listening in the classroom, to listening to our parents. And that's how we build our language and we build our language structure. And if we can't hear anything or if we can't hear properly, then we can't build that hub of words and sentences to structure along. And that means we can't communicate. And this actually leads into early adulthood as well as adulthood, because according to statistics, people with hearing loss also tend to have an issue with employment. So it really starts from a very young age to try and ensure those children that do have hearing loss really get the help that they need. So I'm just going to jump in and give you a little bit more
All
information.
right, go ahead.
But hearing loss, hearing loss in children is actually quite significant because of ear infections. We have a lot of ear infections when it comes to little kids. We call it otitis media, where basically there's fluid in the middle ear. There's also impacted wax, so a lot of wax in the ear that can also prevent children from hearing well. And these are preventative hearing loss issues. So we can actually treat it before moving on to anything more serious. So it's really important for our children to get their ears checked on a regular basis, so we know they're receiving the full sound of life and not in bits and pieces.
Because generally that, in giving birth to a child and when there is a bit of a delay in their speech or there is a speech impediment, I've noticed that we focus on them speaking and all of that and how to articulate themselves, but we never really think of the hearing part of the. Does actually hearing loss affect that speech development?
Yes, it actually affects the speech development as well as the cognitive development of the brain. So hearing is actually begins in the brain, right? If we don't provide the brain with enough information, the brain actually does not use that muscle any longer. It's like exercising. If we keep working out our legs, that muscle is going to grow and it's going to be stronger. But it's the same with your brain. If you don't provide the brain with that information, then it's going to have cognitive deprivation. And that means that the brain is not going to get stronger, which then impacts speech and language, cognitive development in the brain, and then obviously the outcome is then poor education for that child.
So as a parent, if you suspect mild hearing difficulty in your child, what should be the first step?
The first step should be to either visit your local clinic. They do have referrals at the clinics, as well as the hospitals. So at hospitals, we do have a department called, it's either the audiology department or the speech and hearing department. And we use Google all the time. If you simply just Google nearest audiologist or audiologist in my area, a whole load of audiologists will appear on the screen. So you can really find audiologists anyway. It's easily accessible. I know it's not something we focus on, and so we don't really notice it. But once you do look around and you see the name audiologist, you will see it almost on every second street, especially in the cities.
Now, generally, let's say you don't have a hearing loss problem. Can you, or is it important that you go and get your hearing tested just as a general person, or even as a broadcaster? I work with headphones and music all the time, and stuff is very loud, can be very loud at times. Is it important for that test?
Yes, actually, one of the main causes of hearing loss currently is noise. As you said, you use headphones all of the time. We love to listen to our music here in South Africa
Yes.
on a really high decibel. On very high levels. So it is something that we should be looking at. So I would recommend everyone get a hearing test at least once a year. Now, you may not feel like you have a hearing loss, but when we do a hearing test, we can see a progression of hearing loss or the possibility of you getting to that point. So when you do a hearing test, the audiologist will explain and counsel you to let you know, hey, we see that there is a drop in your hearing, so please start protecting your ears. Stop listening to music way too loudly. Or if you're in an environment that you work in that's really loud, start using earplugs and things. So it's really more of a preventative measure that we need to start looking at, because with hearing loss there isn't a fix. You can't go into surgery and change that. You can't start hearing again. You have to then deal with the consequences of it. So rather than dealing with the consequences of it, let's be proactive, get a hearing test at least once a year. You can also just do a hearing screening at any local audiologist or clinic.
So here's my this or that question. Earphones or headphones? Why?
Why? Sorry, can you repeat
the choice?
Explain that a little
the
bit?
choice. Because you put earphones inside or earplugs. Would you say, do we choose earphones or headphones?
Oh, in terms of what's better?
Just
so
yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I don't think it's really about the choice of headphone or earplug that you use. It's more about the volume that we increase it to, right? So it's about the decibel. It's about increasing that volume. If we go too loudly, then that's what's going to affect our ears, not necessarily the type of equipment or headphone that we use. Unless you're someone that suffers with a lot of wax in your ear, then I would say use a headphone instead of earplugs. But it really is about the volume. It's really about how loud you're making those devices. That's important. On your cell phone, you will see once you increase the volume, it gives you a warning, which everyone tends to ignore. Don't ignore that warning. It's really there to protect your ears. So don't increase the volume above that.
Ish, I am that guy.
You're guilty.
Now I've learned something today. Now you touched on South Africa. Now, how common is hearing loss in South Africa, and who is most vulnerable?
So it's a crazy stat, actually. There are 12 million people in South Africa that are living with hearing loss. So to bring it into a little bit like better perspective, it's 20% of the population.
Oh, my word.
It's a lot. It's actually, we're calling it a silent crisis. That's pun on hearing loss there. But yes, it's a silent crisis. There's about 5 million people in South Africa that are dealing with disabling hearing loss. So, which means that they are struggling to communicate on a daily basis. So it is quite a large portion of our population, and generally it's more so our children as well as young adults. As you know, we've mentioned now, listening to loud music and attending these festivals. All of these kind of add up at the end of the day. So it's usually that sort of range. It's the younger kids as well as the younger adults that are being affected more now than ever.
It is the Oasis on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Shy Guy in Fonsako Mhlanga this morning. We're going to be here through until 9 a.m. Central African Time. Tuesday, the 3rd of March is World Hearing Day. We are in conversation with audiologist Hawa Bibi Mahomed. We're reflecting basically on the importance of hearing care for children and young adults.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.
Stella Longwe. Pamalonje.
Ndiyetu apa tindikatswiri oimba wa dziko la Mozambique ameneyu amene ali Rikabana. Ndatiuzeni kuti maimba ashamba shanji komanso dzina lanu lenileni kuoneka ngati dzina limeneli ndilijatu atapa stage. Dzina lanu kwenikweni ndi ndani komanso maimba ashamba shanji?
Ineyo dzina langa lenileni ndine Ricardo Musa Rabana. Chamba chimene ndimaimba ine ndimanganji ndimakonda kwambiri ma tradition. Zimenezo ndi nyimbo zathu chifukwa kwathu kunoko ndi madansi osiyana-siyana a chimizi. Ndi ineyo poti ndi mnyamata wa chimizi ndi ndimakondanso nyimbo za chimizi.
Ndinu a chimizi? Ndi makondanso nyimbo za chimizi, mapangaso za chimizi. Zosangalatsa kuti mwanena poyera kuti ndinu a chimizi. Anthu amazibisa, anthu amafuna kukhala ndithu achitauni. Koma chikhalidwe chilibe chitauni, alisa ndi chikhalidwe chake, alisa ndi zimene amakonda.
Malonje, pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lowiruka ndi Stella Longwe.
Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. From 6 till 9 a.m. Central African Time on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It is the Oasis, 7:41 Central African Time. You will find us on DSTV Audio Bouquet, channel 802. Otherwise, we are on Open View, channel 628, as we are focusing on the importance of hearing care for children and young adults. Still in a conversation with audiologist Hawa Bibi Mahomed, as it is Hearing Day on Tuesday, the 3rd of March. Now, Hawa, what are some of the common causes of hearing loss in children?
So a lot of the causes that we see is middle ear infections. So when you see your little one with like some oozing liquid that is coming out of their ear, that is an infection, and you should get that checked out. Another cause is wax. So it's very common for children to have a lot of wax in the ear, and that wax buildup obviously prevents sound from entering the ear. So that's something that can easily be treated, as well as ear infections. The other factor is again, high volumes of music. So try and prevent your children from using headphones in their ears all the time, especially because we don't have control over how high they're making the volume. So those are some of the common, reasons for hearing loss, or, hearing loss in children.
I remember working with an ENT specialist. So he touched on this, the issue of what we call earbuds, and he doesn't like that name because he says those things are not earbuds. Is it a right thing to do to clean wax? Because when I asked him sometime, he says rather use your elbows to clean your ear. So is it right to put those things inside our ears to clean the wax?
So I'm on his page. It's actually not core earbuds. It's actually just Q-tips. We've, over the years with culture and, our obsession with cleaning, we've actually changed the term to earbuds so that we can use it in our ears. But you should never be cleaning your ears by yourself. So if you feel like you have wax in your ears or you can't hear clearly, it's better to go to a doctor to get it checked out. The reason being is that when you put something small into your ear itself is quite small. So you're actually pushing the wax further into your ear and obviously causing a lot more impact on your ear and your eardrum. So it's not something that is ever recommended, and you should not be cleaning your own ears. Our bodies are amazing. So your ear actually cleans out the wax on its own, so you don't have to do it yourself. You can clean on the outside with a washcloth, but never put anything into your ear because you are going to damage your ears in that way. So always get it checked out by a professional, either an audiologist or a doctor, but never do it yourself because it's quite dangerous and you can damage your ears, especially for our little ones.
That's exactly what he told me. So now in terms of the untreated hearing loss, how does it affect emotional and social development?
So many people, many people don't know this, but we actually hear with our brain, right? So when the brain actually doesn't receive enough sound or sound stimulation, you can say, it starts forgetting to process certain sounds. Okay. And we actually call this auditory deprivation. So over time, what it does is it weakens our speech understanding and our cognitive abilities. And with that, it can lead to depression. It can lead to dementia as well later on in life. It can actually lead to early onset of dementia as well. So it really has a huge impact on our brain and our brain health. And we know there's a huge movement towards mental health, right? In globally and as well as in this country. And we're actually sleeping on the fact that taking care of your ears, being able to hear actually promotes better mental health. So if you're in a restaurant or you with family and you can't hear them, you start disconnecting from them. And when you start disconnecting, you feel isolated, you go into depression, you withdraw from everything that is important, the colors are in your life. So it really has a big impact on basically your entire life, your speech development, your and your mental health. So all of it.
Now, if you are an individual that, when you're speaking to someone and you speak more louder than the average person, can that be affected maybe in terms of hearing?
Yes. So there are a few telltale signs, and one of them could be that you can't hear yourself, so you are speaking a bit louder. I would recommend, so on like different websites, we have, if you actually just Google it, quick hearing screening, a lot of websites will pop up where you can do your own little screening of your hearing to check, do I have a problem? Can I get my hearing checked? So there are these little things that you can use to check if you do have a possible hearing loss. But yes, if you start talking a bit louder than usual and people do notice, then that is a telltale sign. If you ask people to repeat themselves continuously, that's also another sign that you may have hearing loss issues. As well as if you're in a very noisy environment or in a restaurant and you are struggling to keep up with the with the conversation, that's also another sign that you may have some sort of hearing loss or hearing disability.
Now, we often overlook everyday noise exposure. What habits should families become more mindful of?
Sorry, could you repeat that, Shaka? I didn't
All right,
quite
so
get that.
I just want us to concentrate on that the everyday, noise exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So the habits that families should become more mindful of. Just practical tips every day.
Practical tips. So I would say try and refrain from using headphones for a long period of time, especially on louder volumes. That's something that we see quite regularly. So try and prevent that. When you get a notification on your phone that says don't increase the volume, please do not do that. So that is some of the small things that we can look at. And then when it comes to just ear care on its own, if you do not clean your ears by yourself, that's something you should not be doing. And if you do feel like a family member is not hearing really well, or you feel like they're struggling communicating with you, I would suggest speaking to them first and saying, hey, don't you want to get your hearing checked? So, and again, I just spoke about the telltale signs. So communicate with your family, see who is kind of struggling with those little factors.
Lastly, there is still a stigma around hearing support and hearing aids. Mm-hmm. How can families move past that fear and prioritize early action?
So I think, this is a big one. Usually people, think that hearing loss is it's old people, right? It's only old people that have hearing loss, but it's actually everyone. And that's what we're actually talking about right now. So I would say that getting your hearing checked is not a weakness. It is an investment in your health, especially for me personally, I would say in your mental health and your relationships, right? Because we don't want to withdraw from the people around us. We don't want to have challenges, especially even at the workplace. So I would say, please get your hearing checked. Hearing aids these days are a lot like our regular headphones. They come with really advanced technology. They're actually smaller. They're a lot more discreet. They have Bluetooth connectivity as well, which means you can stream YouTube through your hearing aids. You can stream phone calls. It is really no longer a bulky, piece of equipment or bulky piece of hearing aid. It's actually quite smart, wearable technology, just like headphones. So it's no longer old-fashioned. And if we can get our our eyes checked and wear spectacles, then really getting hearing aids also looks pretty cool, I think.
All right, that was audiologist Hawa Bibi Mahomed. Thank you very much for your time and the focus on the World Hearing Day, which is happening on Tuesday, 3rd of March. And just looking at the importance of hearing care for children and young adults. Still listening to the Oasis with Shy Guy in Fonsako Mhlanga this morning. We're going to go on until 9 a.m. Central African Time, 7:52. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us.